They were the golden girls of the silver screen, women who possessed beauty, talent, and the adoration of millions. Yet, behind the dazzling smiles and elegant gowns lay a ruthless determination to possess what belonged to another. We are not talking about simple breakups, but about the calculated destruction of happy homes by trusted friends and colleagues. Today, we uncover the stories of 10 British actresses from the 60s to the 90s who crossed the line, shattering vows and stealing husbands in the pursuit of their own happiness. Subscribe and comment. Is all really fair in love and war? Let us begin. Elizabeth Taylor. When we speak of the ultimate femme fatale in British entertainment history, one name stands above all others, casting a shadow that stretches across decades. Elizabeth Taylor was not merely an actress, she was a force of nature, a woman whose violet eyes could seemingly command the loyalty of any man she chose. However, her most famous conquest remains the most scandalous chapter in the chronicle of 1960s show business. The year was 1963, and the location was the sun-drenched set of Cleopatra in Rome. Elizabeth was there to play the Queen of the Nile, but the drama unfolding behind the cameras far stripped the script. She set her sights on her co-star, the ruggedly handsome Welsh actor Richard Burton, a man known for his Shakespearean voice and his devotion to his wife, Sybil Williams. Sybil was not just a spouse, she was a beloved figure in the British theatre community, known for her dignity and grace. She had stood by Richard through his early struggles and his rise to fame, but she was unprepared for the hurricane that was Elizabeth Taylor. At the time, Elizabeth was married to Eddie Fisher, a man she had already controversially borrowed from her friend Debbie Reynolds, but that relationship was fading. The chemistry between Elizabeth and Richard was electric and undeniable, sparking a forbidden romance that the Vatican itself would later condemn as erotic vagrancy. They did not hide their affection, they flaunted it with a brazen disregard for the families waiting back home. For Sybil, the humiliation was public and relentless. The paparazzi, then a relatively new phenomenon, captured every stolen glance and every intimate dinner between the lovers on the Via Veneto. The press painted Elizabeth as a predator, a woman who would stop at nothing to satisfy her heart's desire, regardless of the collateral damage. Richard, entranced by Elizabeth's glamour and fiery spirit, initially wavered, torn between his duty to Sybil and his obsession with his new leading lady. However, Elizabeth's hold on him was absolute. She demanded his total attention, and she got it. The betrayal shattered Sybil's world, forcing her to retreat from the limelight while the new couple became the most famous duo on the planet. The scandal redefined celebrity culture. It was the moment when the private lives of stars became public property, and the narrative of the homewrecker was etched into the tabloids. Elizabeth and Richard would go on to marry and divorce twice, their relationship a volatile mix of diamonds, fur, and furious arguments. Yet, history has never quite forgiven the way it began. While Sybil eventually found her own happiness and success away from Richard's shadow, the image of Elizabeth Taylor as the woman who stole the Welsh wizard remains a potent symbol of the era. It was a romance that burned brightly, but it was ignited by the sparks of a broken marriage, proving that for Elizabeth, love was a game where the winner took everything, no matter the cost to others. Helena Bonham Carter. In the early 1990s, the British film industry had a reigning king and queen. Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson were the golden couple, celebrated for their wit, their talent, and what appeared to be an unbreakable bond. They were the darlings of the press, often compared to the legendary Laurence Olivier and Vivien Leigh. However, this fairy tale was destined for a dark and gothic twist. Enter Helena Bonham Carter, the eccentric and captivating actress known for her period dramas and her untamed bohemian spirit. She was not a stranger to the couple. In fact, she and Emma had starred together in the critically acclaimed film Howard's End in 1992. They were colleagues, peers, and by all accounts, friendly within the tight-knit London theatre circle. But friendship would prove to be no barrier when passion intervened. The catalyst for this heartbreaking drama was the filming of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein in 1994. Kenneth was directing and starring as the obsessed scientist, while Helena was cast as his love interest, Elizabeth. On the moody, atmospheric set, life began to imitate art with devastating consequences. While Emma was away, trusting her husband and focusing on her own projects, a profound and intense connection was forming between Kenneth and his leading lady. It was not merely a professional admiration, it was a romance that would soon shatter one of the most beloved marriages in the country. The chemistry was palpable to everyone on set, a secret that was becoming harder to keep with each passing day. For Emma Thompson, the revelation was a crushing blow. She later described this period as one of the most painful experiences of her life. The woman who made the world laugh with her sharp humor was privately navigating a sea of tears. She famously channeled this raw, visceral heartbreak into her performance in Love. Actually, years later, specifically the scene where her character discovers her husband's infidelity, the public was stunned. The narrative of the sensible, grounded wife being left for the quirky, unconventional other woman became a staple of the tabloids. The press pitted the two actresses against each other, creating a media storm that was relentless. The betrayal was compounded by the fact that it came from within their own circle. Helena was not an unknown starlet. She was someone Emma knew and respected. The breakdown of the marriage in 1995 was swift and final. Kenneth and Helena did not hide away in shame. They continued their relationship for several years, becoming a new power couple in their own right, although they never married. For a long time, the tension between the two women was the subject of much speculation. It seemed impossible that such a deep wound could ever heal, given the public nature of the split and the sheer scale of the deception involved. However, time, as they say, is a great healer. Decades later, Emma Thompson displayed a grace that few could muster. She publicly stated that she had made her peace with Helena, famously saying that, "You can't hold on to anything like that," and noting that she and Helena were actually quite similar in their slight madness. She described the situation as blood under the bridge, a witty yet poignant acknowledgement of the pain that had flowed between them. Yet, despite the forgiveness, the story of how the eccentric muse stole the heart of the golden boy remains one of the most dramatic chapters of British cinema history. It was a lesson that even the most perfect unions are fragile, and that sometimes the person who breaks the home is the one standing right next to you in the cast photo. Francesca Annis. The London theatre world in the mid-1990s was rocked by a scandal that felt as though it had been ripped straight from the pages of a Shakespearean tragedy. At the center of the storm was Ralph Fiennes, the brooding and intensely talented actor who had just captivated the world in Schindler's List. By his side was his wife, Alex Kingston, a fellow actor and his sweetheart from their days at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. They were the golden couple of their generation, a pair who had been together for 12 years, their bond seemingly forged in steel. However, the arrival of the veteran actress Francesca Annis would prove that even the longest commitments can be shattered in the blink of an eye. The catalyst for this dramatic separation was a production of Hamlet at the Hackney Empire in 1995. In a twist of casting that the tabloids would later devour with glee, Francesca was cast as Gertrude, the mother of the title character, played by Ralph. Despite an age gap of 17 years, Francesca was 50 while Ralph was 33, the chemistry between mother and son was not familial but intensely electric. Francesca, known for her timeless beauty and her sophistication, was a woman of immense allure, and Ralph found himself hopelessly drawn to her maturity and her intellect. For Alex Kingston, the betrayal was absolute and humiliatingly public. She had supported Ralph through his early career struggles, believing they were partners for life. She later spoke of her devastation, describing how she felt entirely discarded, her history with Ralph erased by his sudden infatuation with a woman nearly 2 decades her senior. The press had a field day with the narrative, painting Francesca as the older woman who had ensnared the young heartthrob, while Alex was cast as the tragic, abandoned wife. The fact that the affair began during a play about family dysfunction and betrayal only added a layer of cruel irony to the situation. Ralph eventually left the marital home, ending his marriage to Alex just 2 years after their wedding, effectively choosing his new muse over his old friend. The shockwaves were felt throughout the industry. Alex Kingston fled the painful memories of London for Hollywood, where she eventually found massive success on the medical drama ER, a move she later credited with saving her sanity. Meanwhile, Francesca and Ralph defied the critics who called it a fling. They remained together for 11 years, a testament to the genuine nature of their connection, though it began in the ruins of another woman's happiness. The saga of Francesca Annis serves as a reminder that in the world of high art and high emotions, loyalty is often the first casualty. She did not steal a husband in the dead of night. She did it under the bright lights of the stage, proving that passion often respects no boundaries, not even those of marriage vows or age. For Alex Kingston, the lesson was bitter. She lost her husband to the woman playing his mother, a scenario so implausible that if it were written in a script, it would have been rejected for being too melodramatic. Yet, in the rarefied air of British celebrity, the line between performance and reality is often dangerously thin. Charlotte Rampling. She was the ice queen of the swinging 60s, a woman whose cool, hooded gaze and enigmatic presence made her the ultimate symbol of unattainable European glamour. Charlotte Rampling was never one to follow the conventional rules of society, and her approach to love was as uncompromising as her approach to her art. In the mid-1970s, she found herself at the center of a domestic hurricane that would shatter a young family in the blink of an eye. The setting was the sun-drenched coast of Saint-Tropez in 1976, a playground for the rich and famous where moral boundaries often dissolved in the heat. Charlotte was attending a dinner party, a seemingly innocent social gathering that would alter the course of several lives forever. Seated across from her was Jean-Michel Jarre, the dashing French pioneer of electronic music who was on the brink of global superstardom with his album Oxygène. There was, however, a significant complication. Jean-Michel was a married man. His wife, Flore Guillard, was not only his partner but the mother of his young daughter, Émilie. They were a settled, established family unit. Yet, from the moment Charlotte and Jean-Michel locked eyes over the dinner table, the atmosphere shifted. Witnesses described the attraction as instantaneous and terrifyingly intense, a magnetic pull that ignored the existence of wedding rings or vows. It was a classic case of coup de foudre, love at lightning strike, but for Flore, it was the strike that would burn her house down. The speed of the betrayal was breathtaking. According to the lore of their romance, the connection was so powerful that Jean-Michel made a decision that many would view as heartless. Reportedly, the very next morning after meeting Charlotte, he told Flore that their marriage was over. He packed his bags and left his wife and child to be with the English actress he had known for less than 24 hours. It was a brutal, swift extraction that left Flore reeling in shock. There was no period of agonizing deliberation, no attempt at counseling, simply a door closing on one life and opening on another. Charlotte, for her part, did not hesitate. She claimed her man with a steely determination, later describing the meeting as a destiny that could not be denied. The scandal was the talk of Paris and London. The press painted Charlotte as the cold-hearted English siren who had swept into France and stolen one of its brightest stars, leaving a devastated mother in her wake. The couple married in 1978 and became a fixture of the international jet set, raising their children in a blended family that appeared, on the surface, to be bohemian and modern. Charlotte often defended the suddenness of their union, arguing that true passion does not wait for permission. She became a mother to Jean-Michel's daughter, Émilie, stepping into the shoes of the woman she had displaced, a dynamic that must have been fraught with hidden tensions. For 20 years, they were the golden couple, seemingly proving that their controversial beginning was justified by their enduring love. However, the story holds a bitter irony. In the late 1990s, the tables turned. Jean-Michel's wandering eye, the same trait that had led him to Charlotte, eventually led him away from her. When the news broke that he was involved with another woman, Charlotte was the one left to navigate the pain of public betrayal. The dissolution of their marriage in 1998 was a long and painful process, leading Charlotte to struggle with a deep depression. It was a somber closing chapter to a romance that had begun with such fiery disregard for the feelings of others, serving as a reminder that a relationship built on the ruins of another often carries the seeds of its own destruction. Joely Richardson. In the early 1990s, the British theatre establishment was shaken by a scandal that involved two of its most celebrated acting dynasties. The Redgraves and the Riggs were royalty in the world of stage and screen, but their paths crossed in a way that would leave a trail of heartbreak and tabloid headlines. The victim of this particular domestic tragedy was none other than Dame Diana Rigg, the iconic star of the Avengers and later Game of Thrones. She was happily married to the Scottish aristocrat and theatrical producer Archie Sterling, living a life of grandeur between their London home and a sprawling castle in Scotland. However, the arrival of a younger actress on the scene would shatter this picture of aristocratic bliss. That actress was Joely Richardson, the daughter of Vanessa Redgrave and Tony Richardson, a woman who possessed a luminous beauty and a pedigree that rivaled Diana's own. The year was 1990, and Joely was just 25 years old, on the cusp of her own stardom. Archie Sterling, a man known for his charm and his wandering eye, was captivated by the young actress who was nearly a quarter of a century his junior. What began as a professional acquaintance quickly spiraled into a clandestine romance that threatened the stability of the Sterling marriage. Diana Rigg, who was 52 at the time, was not a woman to be trifled with. She was known for her sharp wit and her formidable presence, but the discovery of her husband's infidelity struck a devastating blow to her pride and her heart. The press, sensing a story that combined high society with showbiz gossip, descended upon the trio with relentless enthusiasm. The betrayal was particularly stinging because of the close-knit nature of their world. Joely was not a stranger. She was part of the same social circle, a young woman whom Diana might have mentored. Instead, she became the rival who usurped Diana's position as the lady of the manor. The affair was conducted in the shadows at first, with whispered rumors circulating at dinner parties and gallery openings, but the truth eventually became impossible to ignore. When Diana confronted Archie and the reality of the situation became clear, her reaction was swift and dignified. She famously declared that she would not share her husband, leading to a high-profile separation that ended their 8-year marriage. There was a bitter irony to the entire saga that the tabloids were quick to point out. Years earlier, Diana herself had been the other woman when she began her relationship with Archie, who was married to his first wife at the time. Now, the wheel of fortune had turned, and she found herself in the position of the discarded spouse, replaced by a younger model. It was a harsh lesson in the cyclical nature of romantic betrayal. Joely Richardson, for her part, found herself labeled as the marriage wrecker, a tag that was difficult to shake in the conservative press of the time. She and Archie continued their relationship after the marriage collapsed, but the foundation of their union was built on the ruins of another, which brought its own pressures. Although Joely and Archie did not end up marrying, the impact of their affair was long-lasting. It caused a rift between two powerful families and served as a public reminder that youth and beauty are often weaponized in the battle for affection. Diana Rigg eventually recovered her poise and continued her illustrious career with her head held high, but the pain of that period remained a part of her history. Joely Richardson went on to have a successful career in Hollywood, but in the archives of British celebrity scandals, she is remembered as the young star who walked into a castle and walked out with the husband of a legend. The story stands as a testament to the fragility of vows when faced with the intoxicating allure of a new and forbidden passion. Patsy Kensit. In the gritty and glamorous world of the British 1990s music and film scene, she was the ultimate it girl. With her blonde bob, angelic face, and a string of pop hits and movie roles, Patsy Kensit was the darling of the tabloids. However, behind the innocent smile lay a romantic history that was as volatile as it was controversial. While she is often remembered for her tumultuous relationship with Oasis frontman Liam Gallagher, it was her earlier conquest that earned her a reputation as a breaker of hearts and homes. The target of her affection was none other than Jim Kerr, the Scottish lead singer of the stadium-filling rock band Simple Minds. The problem was that Jim was already one half of the coolest power couple in the music industry. Jim Kerr was married to Chrissie Hynde, the legendary frontwoman of The Pretenders. Chrissie was an icon of female empowerment, a rock goddess who had balanced life on the road with raising their daughter, Yasmin. To the outside world, they were the perfect match of equals, two poetic souls united by music. But in 1992, the harmony was shattered by the arrival of Patsy. She was filming the movie Blame It on the Bellboy with Dudley Moore when she crossed paths with the rock star. The attraction was instantaneous and reportedly devastating to the existing marriage. Patsy, with her youthful exuberance and undeniable charisma, represented a new and exciting chapter that Jim found impossible to resist. For Chrissie Hynde, the betrayal was a visceral blow. She was not just losing a husband, she was losing him to a woman who represented everything she was not, a pop starlet who lived her life on the front pages of glossy magazines. The press had a field day contrasting the two women, the serious, credible rock musician versus the bubbly, blonde actress. Chrissy famously spoke of the pain of abandonment, describing how the man she loved had effectively packed his bags and left their family unit for a dazzling new life. The speed with which Jim moved from the family home to Patsy's arms left the public reeling and cemented Patsy's image in the media as the woman who had dismantled a rock and roll dynasty. The narrative of the homewrecker dogged Patsy for years. When she and Jim married shortly after his divorce was finalized, it felt to many like a victory lap on the ruins of Chrissy's happiness. However, the union born in the heat of scandal was destined to be short-lived. Just as quickly as the romance had ignited, it began to cool under the pressure of the spotlight and conflicting careers. By 1996, Patsy and Jim had separated, proving once again that relationships forged in the fire of betrayal often burn out just as fast. While all parties eventually moved on, with Chrissy Hynde maintaining her status as a dignified legend of rock, the saga remains a defining moment of 90s celebrity culture. It was a stark reminder that in the world of fame, love is often a zero-sum game where one woman's fairy tale ending is written at the expense of another woman's broken heart. Patsy Kensit got her man, but the shadow of how she acquired him followed her long after the marriage certificate had gathered dust. Felicity Kendall. She was the undisputed sweetheart of the British nation, the woman who defined wholesome charm for a generation. As Barbara Good in the iconic sitcom The Good Life, Felicity Kendall was the girl next door who wore wellies and covered herself in mud, the epitome of innocent, self-sufficient happiness. The public adored her, projecting onto her an image of unwavering loyalty and traditional values. However, in the early 1990s, the script of her real life took a dramatic turn that would shatter this carefully cultivated persona forever. Felicity was no longer content with being the cute, bubbly sitcom star. She was reinventing herself as a serious stage actress, and in doing so, she found herself at the center of a highbrow scandal that rocked the London cultural elite. The setting for this real-life drama was the rehearsal rooms of the National Theatre, where Felicity was cast in the plays of Sir Tom Stoppard, arguably the greatest living British playwright. Tom was a giant of the literary world, a man of immense intellect and wit. He was also a married man. His wife was not an unknown figure. She was Dr. Miriam Stoppard, a famous television doctor, agony aunt, and author who was trusted by millions of women across the country. Miriam and Tom had been married for nearly 20 years, a power couple who seemed to have balanced two high-flying careers with a stable family life. To the outside world, they were unshakable. But when Felicity began working closely with Tom on his play Hapgood in 1988 and later Arcadia, the professional admiration quickly blossomed into a profound romantic connection. Felicity was married at the time to the American director Michael Rudman, but her marriage was crumbling. She found in Tom an intellectual equal and a passionate partner who saw beyond her sitcom image. The chemistry between the playwright and his muse was undeniable, a meeting of minds that soon became a meeting of hearts. For a while, the affair was the worst-kept secret in the West End theatre circles, whispered about in dressing rooms and at post-show dinners. When the truth finally exploded into the public domain in 1992, the shock was palpable. The idea that Barbara Good could be a homewrecker seemed impossible to reconcile with her public image. Miriam Stoppard was reportedly devastated. She had been the loyal wife who supported Tom's genius, only to be displaced by the actress who was bringing his words to life on stage. The betrayal felt particularly cruel because Miriam was a woman who had spent her career advising others on how to handle relationship crises, yet she found herself in the middle of a storm she could not control. Tom moved out of the family home, leaving behind a 20-year marriage to be with Felicity. The media narrative was swift and brutal. Felicity was painted as the woman who had used her rear of the year allure to steal a husband from one of the most respected women in Britain. It was a scandal that stripped away her innocence in the eyes of the public. Although Felicity and Tom never married, they remained together for many years, proving that their connection was deep and genuine. However, the shadow of how it began never quite lifted. It was a stark reminder that in the theater of life, the most dramatic twists often happen when the curtain comes down, and that even the most wholesome characters are capable of leaving a trail of broken hearts in their wake. Joan Collins. By the mid-1970s, Joan Collins was already a household name, a star who had conquered Hollywood and whose beauty was the stuff of legend. However, her most dramatic conquest was not a box office record, but the heart of a married man. In 1974, Joan's path crossed with Ron Cass, a charismatic American businessman and the former manager of the Beatles. Ron was a figure of immense influence in the music industry, but he was also a man with a ring on his finger. He was married to his wife, Anita, and was the father of 3 young children. The life they had built was stable and private, far removed from the flashbulbs that followed Joan wherever she went. When Joan and Ron met, the attraction was described as lust at first sight. It was a collision of 2 powerful personalities that ignored the collateral damage it would cause. Joan, never one to do things by halves, was captivated by Ron's dominance and charm. For Ron, the allure of the British screen siren was simply too potent to resist. The affair began with an intensity that quickly consumed his existing life. Within a shockingly short period, the stability of the Cass family home was obliterated. Ron left Anita and his children to be with Joan, a move that was as swift as it was brutal. The media, always hungry for a story involving their favorite glamour girl, devoured the scandal. Joan was portrayed as the ultimate temptress, the woman who could walk into a room and dismantle a marriage with a single glance. Unlike some who hid in the shadows, Joan and Ron became a golden couple of the international jet set. Their relationship played out on yachts and at premieres. They married in 1975, just over a year after they met, sealing their union on the ruins of his first family. For Anita and the children, the sudden departure of the patriarch was a devastating blow. They were the silent victims in a drama that was broadcast to the world as a great romance. Joan and Ron's marriage would last for nearly a decade and produce a daughter, Katiana, but it was a union forged in the fire of betrayal. While Joan Collins is rightly celebrated for her resilience and her iconic roles, this chapter of her life remains a testament to her ruthless pursuit of what she wanted. She saw a future with Ron, and she took it, leaving the wreckage of a happy home in her rearview mirror as she sped towards her next adventure. Catherine Zeta-Jones. By the late 1990s, she was the raven-haired siren who had conquered British television in The Darling Buds of May and was setting Hollywood ablaze with her sword-fighting skills in The Mask of Zorro. Catherine Zeta-Jones was not just an actress. She was a throwback to the golden age of cinema, a woman of intoxicating glamour and undeniable ambition. However, her ascent to the very top of the Hollywood hierarchy involved a romantic conquest that would result in one of the most expensive divorce settlements in history. The target of her affection was Michael Douglas, the scion of acting royalty and a man who was 25 years her senior. While their romance is now the stuff of legend, at the time it was the scandal that rocked the Tinseltown establishment because Michael was still legally married to his wife of nearly 2 decades, Deandra Luca. The setting for this cinematic betrayal was the Deauville Film Festival in France in 1998. Catherine was there to promote her new film, looking every inch the movie star in a stunning gown that left little to the imagination. Michael, who was captivated by her performance as the fiery Elena, asked their mutual friend Danny DeVito to arrange an introduction. The line he used that night has become infamous. "I want to be the father of your children." For many women, this might have been a presumptuous opening, but for Catherine, it was a declaration of intent. The chemistry was instantaneous and explosive, a meeting of 2 alpha personalities who recognized a kindred spirit in one another. However, there was a significant obstacle in the path of their fairy tale. Deandra Douglas, the mother of Michael's first son, Cameron, was very much still in the picture. Although the couple had been estranged for some time due to Michael's previous indiscretions and his battles with personal demons, the marriage certificate was still valid, and the financial ties were complex. The arrival of the young, vibrant Welsh actress accelerated the dissolution of the union in a way that the tabloids devoured with glee. Catherine was not interested in being a mistress or a hidden secret. She demanded a ring, a commitment, and a family. Her presence forced Michael to make a definitive choice between his past obligations and his future desires. The ensuing legal battle was bitter and publicly humiliating for Diandra. She was effectively being replaced by a woman who was younger than her, a woman who was being hailed as the most beautiful creature on the planet. The press painted Catherine as the determined usurper, the man-eater who had crossed the Atlantic to claim the ultimate prize. Diandra famously fought for a significant portion of the Douglas fortune, arguing that she had stood by him during his most productive years. The final settlement was reported to be around $45 million, a staggering sum that underscored the high price of Michael's freedom. It was a check he wrote willingly to secure his new life with Catherine. While Diandra retreated from the glare of the spotlight to lick her wounds, Catherine and Michael embarked on a whirlwind of lavish weddings and red carpet appearances. They became the power couple of the new millennium, their relationship defying the critics who said it would never last. Yet, the foundation of their dynasty was built on the wreckage of a long-standing marriage. Catherine Zeta-Jones proved that she was a woman who knew exactly what she wanted and possessed the ruthless charm to get it. She did not just steal a husband, she dismantled a 20-year history to build her own empire, proving that in the game of Hollywood thrones, the queen usually takes the king, regardless of who is standing in her way. The Zorro star had made her most daring move yet, and the victim was the wife who had been waiting in the wings for a reconciliation that would never come. Hayley Mills. For millions of cinemagoers in the 1960s, she was the embodiment of sweetness and light, the golden-haired child star of Disney classics like Pollyanna and The Parent Trap. Hayley Mills was the nation's little sister, a symbol of innocent girlhood who could do no wrong. However, as she transitioned from adolescence into womanhood, the script of her life took a turn that was far too scandalous for the House of Mouse. The controversy centered on her relationship with the distinguished film director Roy Bolting, a man who was not only 33 years her senior, but also very much married. The collision of the wholesome Disney image with the messy reality of adult infidelity created a media storm that shocked the conservative society of the time. The drama began on the set of the film The Family Way in 1966. Hayley was 20 years old, eager to shed her juvenile reputation and be taken seriously as an actress. Roy, at 53, was a veteran of the industry, a powerful figure who commanded respect. He was also a husband to Enid Munich and a father to a large brood of children. To the outside observer, it seemed an impossible match, the fresh-faced ingenue and the aging intellectual. Yet, the creative partnership quickly blossomed into an intense romantic entanglement. Roy found in Hayley a muse who revitalized his spirit, while Hayley found in Roy a mentor and a lover who treated her as an equal, not a child. The revelation of their affair was a bombshell. The British press, who had watched Hayley grow up on screen, struggled to reconcile their Pollyanna with the other woman who was dismantling a long-standing marriage. Enid Munich, the betrayed wife, was left to pick up the pieces of a family life that had been sacrificed on the altar of her husband's midlife crisis. The narrative was brutal. The older man leaving his loyal spouse for a girl young enough to be his daughter. It was a cliché as old as time, but the involvement of Britain's most beloved young actress gave it a sensational twist. The public felt a sense of betrayal, as if the innocence they projected onto Hayley had been a lie all along. Despite the intense scrutiny and the moral outrage directed at them, Hayley and Roy refused to back down. Roy divorced Enid, a process that was painful and public, and married Hayley in 1971. They had a son, Crispian, and for a time they seemed to defy the critics who predicted that such a controversial beginning could only end in tears. Hayley defended her choice, arguing that love does not adhere to social expectations or age brackets. She was no longer the girl in the gingham dress, she was a woman making her own complex choices, even if those choices caused immense pain to another woman. However, the shadow of how their union began never fully dissipated. The marriage eventually ended in 1977, proving that the pressures of such a significant age gap and the baggage of their scandalous start were perhaps too heavy to sustain forever. Roy Bolting eventually passed away in 2001, and Hayley went on to have other relationships. But the story of their affair remains a defining moment in 1960s pop culture. It was the moment the Disney princess grew up and proved that she was capable of breaking hearts in the real world just as effectively as she won them on screen. The tale of Hayley Mills and Roy Bolting serves as a reminder that the transition from child star to adult often comes with a loss of innocence that is not just cinematic, but deeply personal and sometimes destructive.